And hello, Anchorage. This is Deb the Librarian. You're listening to Informania. Today, my guest is Shamai Thacker. She's the ePortfolio strategist here at the University of Alaska Anchorage. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So how did you get into this position at UAA? Can you tell us about your background and the path you've taken to here?
I actually transitioned from the School of Nursing. I used to do faculty support for the baccalaureate program over there, and graduated with my undergrad in December and decided that it was time to use my degree and started applying for positions around UAA, and this one was a blessing and landed on my lap.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
and congratulations on graduating.
Thank you.
How did you decide what your major would be? Are you from Anchorage?
I've been here for 13 years, so I guess I can kind of say I'm from Anchorage now, but I grew up in Clam Gulch and lived in kind of the bush life for many years until I was 18 and moved to Fairbanks where it was very cold, and I lasted a year.
So did you go to UAF at first then?
I did not. I worked at UAF to start and was kind of considering going to school at UAF, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for education, and I was young and didn't, that wasn't part of my background when I was a child was, I'm going to go right into college. And after I moved down here, it was still kind of like, I don't know if I want to go to college. But jobs are better when you go to college.
Yeah. So you were up in Fairbanks for a year and then you came down to Anchorage?
Yeah, I got married in 2004. And we decided it was just too cold and I couldn't handle it. And so we decided, let's try Anchorage. Maybe there'll be more to do. And this is kind of where we settled.
And so you've been here ever since?
I've been here ever since.
And then when did you start your degree or start going to college?
I applied for UAA in 2007 and then got accepted, started classes in 2008. I kind of pushed it off as far as I could, I think, and because I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And found the Computer Information and Office Systems program and kind of thought to myself, well, this could get me a job. That was always my first goal. It wasn't really so much, learn what you want to do. It was learn what I can do. And so I kind of slow-tracked that degree program. I had no idea what I was doing. I was 24 or something like that at the time when I started, and made a lot of mistakes along the way. Graduated in 2012, which was a long time for an associate's program at that time, and reapplied right away. Told myself I was going to take a break because I was exhausted, but reapplied right away into a bachelor's program, got my bachelor's in technology, graduated December 2016, and now I'm in graduate school.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fabulous. And it's not uncommon for our students at all. I mean, to have these long collegiate paths, not to know. I mean, who knows what you're going to do when you come out of high school. And there are so many other opportunities, I feel like, and other priorities.
Absolutely. And, when you're in high school, you hear people hammer in your head, you need to know what you want to do. You have to know what you want to do when you go to college because you don't want to waste all that money. And it's really true. I think that's very important. But, college is a journey. You learn about yourself as you go. And that's what happened with me. I learned as I went, and I realized that there was more that I wanted to do outside of just my degree programs, and that's why I'm still a student at UAA. That's why I'm going to grad school.
Fabulous. Yeah, and you're exploring so many of your different interests and strengths. And I was telling you earlier, I was an English lit major. I was undecided for 2 years, and then I'll be an English lit major. And I was so insecure about my writing and put that off till my senior year, the creative writing courses, and discovered I was actually good at it. Who knew? So it's kind of just college is, a time for trial and error and exploration, and like you're saying, it's a journey.
Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing is to not be afraid of that journey. So many students come in and they're so scared of what could happen. What happens if I don't pass this class or miss deadlines or anything like that, or just take it with a grain of salt and see what happens. You have to cast that fear aside and just dive in.
And then how about communicating with faculty? Because I find that faculty are very, they're here, the faculty that I've had the good experience to work with on boards and committees and at the library that they really are here to help students succeed and to provide those opportunities. I guess my question is around the courage, getting the courage to ask those questions or talk to the instructors or ask librarians for help. I mean, what was your journey in developing that kind of confidence?
I won't lie. It took me a long time to get that courage to go up to faculty and say, I'm struggling and asking for help. I think students forget that they're a resource for us. Yes, they may be busy, they're a teacher, but they're our support system in our education. They want to see us succeed just as much as we want to succeed. They are our tool for that. And you just have to kind of not be afraid of them because they're your allies. And it's just important to step up and say, ask that question. Doesn't matter if you feel embarrassed that it's the wrong question to ask or anything like that. Just ask. You're never going to know if you don't ask.
And even in class, what I always default to thinking is, if I'm wondering that question or I'm thinking about that question, I'm sure other people must have that question, and maybe I can be the voice for the others that also have that question.
I think it's funny. I think that statement is more true now for me in grad school than it was in my undergrad. That fear kind of stays with you, I think. No matter how comfortable you feel with your instructor, you're kind of like, what if my classmates think I'm an idiot because I'm asking this question? But they're your supporters too. They're your peers. They are in the same boat as you, and they are working just as hard to pass that class. So they're a resource as well.
And what other sources or resources did you use over the years to help in your journey?
I might not be the best advocate for those kind of questions. I kind of started my journey alone, and I had my advisor, who I was really close with, also one of your biggest allies in college. She really helped me through a lot, and then I just kind of figured it out as I went. Asked questions, called the university center and asked about tuition, things like that, things I had questions about. But I never really actually sought all the resources until I was almost finished with my undergrad, which is helpful being in grad school now, but it was not helpful when I was in my undergrad. I kind of was my biggest, I think I drug myself down a little bit in that regard. So it's important to know that there are resources out there and to use them. That's what they're for.
And even, how about peers?
Peers, I was so shy in class. I mean, I have friends in my cohort that I graduated with from my undergrads that I still talk to. Some of them work on campus now, which is great. But, you have to kind of be a social butterfly, I think, to really get the most out of what your peers have to offer you.
Well, I'm really impressed, especially if you're introverted and you have some insecurities about asking questions or are used to being in a small community, and then you come to this huge university. Just to be able to stay on track and continue making college success work over the years is, kudos to you.
Thanks. I had a lot of drive coming into it, though. I was first generation in my family. It was kind of one of those things where I didn't want to prove it just to my family that I could do it. I wanted to prove it to myself because I didn't have that support like everybody else tends to have with, your family going, go to college, be educated, get as much out of it as you can. And while I have that now, my family's finally seeing, just how important that has been to me. I really had to be my biggest advocate.
So who planted the seed for college?
Myself, I think.
Really?
When I was 15 years old, I told myself I wanted to be an English teacher. And, my high school English teachers were all like, you're going to be a writer someday. I can't wait to see you published. And so I had them to kind of drive me to say, okay, well, I have to go to college to be an English teacher. I obviously didn't become an English teacher, but I'm still doing great things. I'm in grad school for teaching and learning right now, and so I'm on an education path, just a different one.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
And what a blessing to students here now. So congratulations on your new job, too.
Thank you.
So you have had some experience with ePortfolios, though, in your undergraduate?
I have. So my capstone course for my technology program, it was a requirement to build your project within ePortfolio. No template, no real full guidance on what to do for it, but we kind of it was just immersing us into it as beginners on ePortfolio. Didn't look the greatest, but I met the guidelines that were required for the course. And then once I graduated, I saw it and I went, I know that this can be way bigger than what we did for this course. And it's grown from there.
So tell our listeners what an ePortfolio is.
So an ePortfolio is a platform where you build your personal story, your professional story, and your education story, or one of those things. You can focus on just your personal story. We have our Native Student Services for Native students. They build cultural identity e-portfolios where they explain their culture and what they've learned over the years through their culture and heritage. My portfolio is kind of focused around professional development. It's pretty heavy in professional development because of where my education has gone and everything like that. That's my focus in life right now. I'm a professional and I want to make sure that that is exhibited on my ePortfolio. Some students use it just for one particular course, but they make them look fantastic. We have students that are showcased on the Digication site that have done courses for geology, and it's huge. It's beautiful. It's a really big tool to just express yourself.
So, and you said you used it for your capstone course?
I did.
Can you describe your project?
So I was actually working at the School of Nursing when I was working on my capstone. And for my capstone, I chose to integrate a Typhon system for the nursing students in the bachelor's program.
What is that?
Typhon?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a database where students can go in. It's centralized for them to do clinical paperwork, clinical schedules for the faculty to work in. It's basically a central hub for students and faculty to get into together and then just work in there without having to go back and forth and things like that.
Like an intranet?
Kind of, yeah, but a database.
Yeah.
It's really, it's very interesting. It's very in depth. But so what I did was the master's program over at UA, at School of Nursing, was using it. And so I was like, well, we need this for the bachelor's program. Let's get this started. And so I kind of did the scope of work and all of the project-y stuff that goes into that. And that was my capstone project, was just getting it built up and ready for students to go into it and faculty.
So it's a real system now.
It is a real system.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so the faculty and students are using it now?
I don't know if they're actually using it yet. We had it built and we knew that we needed faculty training so that faculty can also work with students if they get stuck on it. But I've left, so I don't know if that's something that they're working on getting started soon or if they're waiting.
Was this a full year project?
Full semester.
Full semester.
Yeah.
And your ePortfolio reflected the steps?
It did. So it had my scope of work and what I learned from my scope of work, my workflow process, and down to this is what it looks like now that it's done.
So the types of artifacts, were they just written reports? Did you have any videos?
No videos in this one. For that particular ePortfolio, I focused mainly on having PDFs of my completed work to demonstrate that I completed that task and what I learned from it. But since I've improved my ePortfolio since having to build it for that course, it now lives with all my other courses, and I do have video artifacts within it for my other courses where I've done kind of mock trainings for a human resource or something class. And
wow.
So there's videos, there's pictures, there's samples of my work.
Excellent.
That all live within it.
Okay, I want to learn more about this. We do have to take a break. You're listening to Informania. I'm talking with Shamai Thacker. She's the ePortfolio strategist at the University of Alaska Anchorage. We'll be back in a moment.
Do you have a kindergarten-age child? They need to be current on immunizations before the first day of school, or they may be sent home, which I'm sure they'd probably like. But still, you should see your healthcare provider or local public health center now. Vaccinate your kids! Don't get caught in the before school rush. A message in good health from the Alaska Department of Health and Social Services and KRUA 88.1 FM.
Hey guys, this is Sierra, and you can listen to my show, Talk the Beat, every Sunday from noon to 2, where every week I have a new guest who is really just a friend that I convinced to hang out with me for a little bit. They share a few songs, I share a few songs, and we chat about them. Hope you tune in every Sunday, 12 to 2, right here on KRUA 88.1.
Yeah, we got magic in our heads. We play in the stars when the sun comes.
Where do you suppose this came from? Oh, don't throw it away. It might be something of value.
What, this piece of junk?
UAA's Intro to Art Education class will be holding a silent auction this December in partnership with Anchorage Remade, a community arts and recycling center. Student artists will be upcycling and repurposing donated materials into functional pieces of furniture, artwork, and more. This event will take place on Thursday, December 7th from 5 to 8 p.m. at Anchorage Remade, located at 13500 Old Seward Highway. For more information, visit anchorageremade.com.
Hey, Skipper, you are right. It is valuable.
Welcome back to Informania. This is Deb the Librarian. I'm talking with Shamai Thacker. She's the ePortfolio strategist here at the University of Alaska Anchorage and a recent graduate with a Bachelor's of Technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's fabulous.
Thank you.
So you were talking about developing ePortfolio. How did you get skilled in developing that? Like when you first were introduced to this project, okay, you need to use an ePortfolio. As a student, how did you look at that, or what steps did you take to learn about ePortfolios?
You know, I think I had every other student's opinion about ePortfolio when I had to develop it for this class, because it was the first time I'd heard about it. And all of us in class, when she was talking about it, were like, why? Why are we doing this? Why do we have to do this? This doesn't make any sense. We're never going to use this again. And we kind of carried that with us, and it reflected in our ePortfolios. And, you know, I didn't do the learning and understanding of what the ePortfolio really stood for until after I graduated, which is funny. You kind of have that reflection where you're like, oh, I get it now. That's what she was going for. You know, we all passed. We all got, you know, good remarks on our ePortfolios, but it was very basic. But then you kind of think about what people are using portfolios, paper portfolios for in work, you know, and you're like, oh, okay, well, instead of building this giant binder where I have my resume and I have my cover letter or any other documents that support my education, my experience and everything like that, now I don't have to put it in that. I get to just save it as a PDF and upload it into an electronic format. And you know, with Digication, you know, Classic, we're moving into where we have a new coming out in spring. But in Classic, you know, it's very structured, laid out, and you can develop it in pieces. And you can save it and come back to it when you're more inspired. Or if you feel like you've kind of maybe not put something in where you think it belongs, you know, you just kind of have, there's a lot of self-reflection that goes into it. And it took me about 6 months, I think, to fully understand and develop my ePortfolio where it is now.
So you have one ePortfolio?
I have 3 now. It's unfortunate. You know, when I did my project course, instead of saving that one and creating a new one, because you can have as many ePortfolios as you want, I edited over my project one. So I don't have that original to be like, this is what I started with. And it's really unfortunate, because now that I'm in this position, I think, man, that's a learning tool. That's an experience right there that I just kind of erased, and it's gone.
So they don't, it's not saved somewhere?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would imagine not. When, you know, once you publish over things that you've already created, it just kind of, that's where you are now. I could be wrong. my boss when I get back to the office might be him. But we'll see.
This is all part of the learning.
Yes.
So, okay, you had this initial one and you thought, okay, I'm just going to revise it for my current needs.
Yes.
And that was for professional development?
It was. And, I kind of did it because I knew that I wanted to apply for grad school in the future, and I didn't know if that was going to be something that would be helpful. But it was really a central place for me to have everything that I could possibly need. So it was like, well, if I do apply for grad school, even if they don't want to see my ePortfolio, I at least have all my artifacts. So I can just go to my ePortfolio, download them, print them if I need to, and apply them to my application.
So could you tell me what are the different categories you use for that ePortfolio, and then what are the artifacts you're talking about so that listeners can kind of learn from this?
So I wish I could probably pull my ePortfolio up, but I have there's this, my home page goes to about me and what my goals are and things like that. And then I have professional, which focuses around my career and my work experience. And then I have my academic section, which is broke up between undergrad and grad. So I didn't build my grad section until after I got into grad school, but it has my undergrad section, and I have that broke down between my core technology courses for my bachelor's program and then all of my supporting courses that support not just what I did for my undergrad, but those courses also supported my work experience. So I captured both of those so that anybody that looks at it for job purposes can see where my skills are as they connect to my education.
Boy, that's really terrific. Sounds really well organized and easy to find the different aspects of your strengths.
Yes.
Do you have another website as well, or is this kind of...
This is kind of where I built myself, and I really I never saw the need to build myself anywhere else. Actually, I can't say that. I do have a LinkedIn, but realistically, if you look at ePortfolio and you looked at LinkedIn, you're putting the same artifacts in LinkedIn that you're putting in your ePortfolio. So my ePortfolio has a link to my LinkedIn.
Can LinkedIn have a link to ePortfolio?
It does.
Oh, good.
It does, yep.
Good.
So I just built it as a project within LinkedIn and have the hyperlink for my ePortfolio there.
Excellent. Could you create a ePortfolio for each different project you have worked on, or each different job, or would you build a tab within ePortfolio, your ePortfolio?
I mean,
for each of
you
those?
could certainly do it one ePortfolio at a time if you wanted to,
It's a lot more work.
But realistically, if you're building within tabs and you have it built within one central location, you have a stronger portfolio that you're presenting to whatever person that you're giving it to.
So if someone's listening to this and wants to pursue creating an ePortfolio for finding jobs once they graduate, or even as a student, showing their experiencing and professional experience, or other strengths and skills, where can they go for help?
We actually have a team of eWolf coaches who are... we have them here every day for us to have faculty and students, not just students, but faculty as well. They can contact our coaches for any help with ePortfolios. They can be emailed at ewolfcoach@alaska.edu.
Okay, and I'm going to ask that again later in the show as well. Now, your position is an ePortfolio strategist. What exactly is an ePortfolio strategist?
That is something I'm still kind of learning. I'm guessing ePortfolio strategists do stuff like this. We network and promote ePortfolio into the programs. In my position right now, I'm actually working with the School of Nursing and trying to get them on board with some ePortfolio work. Coming from there, I saw some of the things that could be helpful to the program level there. And it's been great networking in a new way with the faculty, going from faculty support to this, and, saying, this could really boost you assessing the students as nurses, as well as the students kind of reassessing themselves on their skills. And that's really important in nursing. You want our nursing students to come out feeling confident in their skills, and if they can demonstrate that in an ePortfolio, why not?
And once they've created, like you're saying, that first foundational ePortfolio, professional ePortfolio, or even academic, or all of these different components to their strengths, and to be able to market themselves, and then update it pretty easily.
Exactly. It doesn't leave. Once you graduate, you're an alumni, and education works with alumni. We will have that for the rest of our lives. And, well, unless education somehow dies before then, but that's never going to happen. So, so it is definitely, it's something that students in professional fields, they take it with them and they say, this is what I did in my education, and this is how I am prepared to be in the workforce.
So you visit and work with faculty or administration
I do.
in the different colleges. Are you going and meeting with the curriculum committees, or how are you?
Yeah, nursing, I'm working with the curriculum chair just to kind of get some of the ideas out that we could possibly do. But it's not just even at that level, it's individual instructor level. We want instructors to use it. It doesn't have to be at a program level. So if they're doing a course where they feel that they could be demonstrating student knowledge, that's what I want them to do. I want them to build an ePortfolio, even if it's just for a course.
Do you have other examples of a creative ePortfolio use in the classroom? Like of courses or programs that have...
Well, I know that Paul and our coaches have been working with the dance department, and they're doing ePortfolios in dance. I haven't really dipped my toes in that to know a lot about it, but you think about dance and you kind of think, how would that work in an ePortfolio? Well, there's pictures, there's videos of your performances that you're doing. Those are artifacts, and you build them into your ePortfolio and you explain what that is.
And even the papers on the history of dance or other aspects. I know Professor Jill Flanders Crosby is quite an advocate for developing information literacy skills, for example, in students, and so includes research, and such a variety of skill building components, and even dance appreciation, like it's mentioned.
And our one of our coaches works exclusively with Jill for that. She's very big on the ePortfolio and having that in her program. So
I'm so impressed, because it's really this high impact practice.
It is.
In a way that allows these skills and experiences to really become transferable and continue to evolve the student, and yeah.
And that's the goal with ePortfolio is, we don't want students to think that this is just another assignment. Because at first, it does seem like it's just another assignment, but it's a tool that you take with you. It's you. So
where can students access the ePortfolio?
The website for ePortfolio is alaska.digication.com, and you access it with your UAA credentials, log in, and just create.
Is it available through UAA's homepage?
I believe so.
Okay.
It should be on there.
Is it eWolf? What's it?
We call it eWolf. It's
eWolf.
the eWolf ePortfolio services.
Because I think it's under Quick Links too, eWolf.
You were probably right.
Yes. And okay, so if they're a student, then they would need to use their username and password to log in?
Yep.
Is there a template for, let's say, a resume building ePortfolio?
I think that there's a basic template for our classic version. I believe it has a resume component into it. That's what our templates are. We kind of have that, we want you to tell them about you, here's your resume and your education. Just those three kind of main focus points with creating a new ePortfolio. Nothing too big. Yeah. But, we have new Digication coming out next semester. So January 5th, that will be available. And we are currently creating a template for that as well that will have a resume and kind of the same thing.
And course materials, are those unique to the different courses, or is there a standard format for the course ePortfolios?
So there's no real standard format. The thing with the ePortfolio is you build it how you want to build it.
Really?
You can start with a template, which gives you this is a guiding shell for you. But really, we want you to roll with it and make it yours. We want to see your personality come out in it, not what we've set for you. This is just a shell to guide you, but play with it, learn it and see what you can do with it. You can't break it.
So you could link in surveys, you could
Absolutely.
link in documents, pictures, different colors.
Different colors.
It's like creating your own website.
Basically.
Only you've got the tools right there at your fingertips, and you don't have to know how the JavaScript or.
Well, in Classic, it's a little different. Classic is very bare bones for the most part until you get into CMS. So you have to have a little bit of code experience to really tweak with border colors, things like that. Not really advised unless you really have some experience with that. But, with new coming out, it's very user-friendly with the design. And it does have more of a website feel to it when you log into it. It kind of reminds you of something that you would see built in like WordPress or something.
Okay. And how about, is there a link in Blackboard to ePortfolios?
There is. It can be built within Blackboard.
But it's up to the faculty?
It's up to the faculty. Okay. It's, with that, if there are faculty that want to build Digication into their Blackboard, that's something we'd want them to sit down with us and really talk about so that they understand how it works. It functions a lot differently in Blackboard than just functioning through Digication.
Okay. And for undergraduate research, are there any ePortfolios being used for undergraduate research?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I would imagine. I haven't really done any digging.
I can imagine this would be great for in the science field. There's
thousands of ePortfolios.
Yeah. Can you look at other universities' ePortfolios through Digication?
No. So for Digication on our end, when you go in and you're looking at the public ePortfolios, it's really going to pull up just what's in the university system and whatever's public that people have set as public.
And what are some best practices for ePortfolio creation that you've learned about in your experience or that you've heard about?
When it comes to ePortfolios, it kind of goes back to how, when I was saying don't be afraid in your education, don't be afraid in your ePortfolio either. You're telling your story, tell it. Don't leave something out because you think somebody might not agree that it fits in there. That's really up to you.
See, I agree. What I like about ePortfolio, and when I went to like an AAC&U, like an academic college and universities conference many years ago, hearing some of the student affairs folks talk about ePortfolio use too. And there are a lot of students here, let's say, that are parents or, working in other jobs as well, but volunteering, the experiences you have as a parent, my gosh, managing children and households and the volunteering, at schools and all of that really leads to a lot of leadership and other skills that you may not give yourself credit for.
And moms forget that. We have students that come in that are moms, and that's something that you can share that with the world, because if you're a single parent and you haven't really been working jobs because you've been a mom, that is a job. That is a full-time job. It's actually more than a full-time job, yes. I imagine. And I have family, my sister-in-law, she's been working really hard to try to get a job. And I'm like, market your mom skills.
Yes.
Mom skills are a thing. If you're sitting here and you've got 4 kids, 2 of them are in soccer, 1's in dance, your coordinating schedule is better than I could ever coordinate schedule in my professional field.
Absolutely, yes. And what's nice about the ePortfolio is it allows you to, create this fabulous visual of that, including the documents, including your volunteer experience and your, the skills that you have going on, the organizational skills, the team building,
Exactly. It shows your journey.
Exactly. Yes. Yep. And then the languages, including different languages that you know. Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Something came to mind right now because I was just having this conversation with my daughter yesterday, who's like, I could speak whole sentences in emoji.
That's
I know.
That's actually impressive.
The eyeball would be I. It was just kind of very funny. I said we're going back to hieroglyphics, right? I mean,
Basically.
Yes. So it's no longer carvings on walls. It's a full sentence out of pictures on your phone.
A technology skill.
Yeah, there you go. Another technology skill.
Yep.
So another language. I don't know about marketing that one yet, but perhaps. You never know. Anyway, we're going to go to a break. You're listening to Informania. I'm talking with Shamai Thacker. She's the portfolio strategist at UAA, and you're listening to KRUA. We'll be back in a moment.
Sounds of Alaska from KRUA 88.1 Anchorage, featuring grizzly bears. Scary stuff.
Hey everyone, I'm the Music Maniac, and I'll be hosting a new music show all about the amazing world of video game music. Every Thursday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., you can tune in to remember those wonderful songs you used to hear when playing your favorite games. Grab some extra lives and join me on my show, Sound Tendo.
Hey Siri, are eyebrows considered facial hair?
While technically yes, facial hair is defined in the dictionary as a growth of hair on a man's chin, cheeks, or upper lip.
Hey Siri, where's my wallet?
Your coat from last night.
Hey Siri, when will I die?
If you maintain your current burrito-only diet, 3 years, 2 months, 1 week, and 4 hours.
Hey Siri, what's the best radio station?
KRUA 88.1.
Hey Siri, how come Donald Duck doesn't wear pants?
I do not know.
Hello again, Anchorage. This is Deb the Librarian. I'm talking with Shamai Thacker, the ePortfolio strategist. So, we were talking a little bit about how technology has evolved, and where do you see like ePortfolios going in the future? What's your goal here for ePortfolios on campus?
You know, ePortfolio is going to be changing, even with our release in spring. It's just going to change after that release. We're going to keep improving it and making things better, because our user feedback is what Digication is seeking. Like, we want to make it what users are going to be benefiting from. So I don't know where it can go, but I know it can keep getting bigger and better.
Well, I know that, for example, they're trying to move away from paper notebooks in evaluating faculty into electronic format.
Promotion and tenure?
Yes.
Yes.
Promotion and tenure process.
That has been a project that has been ongoing, and and actually one of our nursing faculty they did the same. They kind of did the new thing with that, and there wasn't a lot of great feedback from it. But I think that's that comes back from needing that guidance.
Yeah, because the reviewers are still used to the paper copies as well, and I still did the paper notebook because you already have that foundation.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge is creating that electronic foundation, because eventually it's all going to be electronic, is what I'm thinking.
Well, we've kind of been leaning towards that. I mean, in any job, filing has gone electronic, and really, you can look at ePortfolio the same way. You have your binder, and that's what I started with. I had a binder of my stuff. But you kind of scan everything in, put it into files, and you kind of label your files how you would want your ePortfolio sections to be labeled. So then you're building all your artifacts into a storage space, and then you're pulling from it into your ePortfolio.
So when you scan your documents, let's say you've got your Vita or your resume, you do that in a separate folder.
Mm-hmm.
How about your work experience? Is each job a separate folder, or do you put all of your, let's say, work documents or you've worked on different projects. Does each project get scanned separately, or do they all end up, and then are they different documents in that folder, or how does that work?
So when I did mine, just for ease of it, I had a folder, because I kept everything on my flash drive. Everything lives on a flash drive these days. I have a folder dedicated to ePortfolio, and then within that I had professional experience and UAA, kind of nested those. And then in my professional experience, I had my resume and cover letter and everything kind of stood out. And then I had letters of recommendation in a folder within that folder, like subfolders, kind of how you would build it within your ePortfolio, because you're going to have your professional experience, but then you're going to build within each section. You're going to have your resume, and then you're going to have your cover letter, and then you're going to have your letters of recommendation, and then just kind of building outward.
Okay, so you start with the tab that has professional experience, and then you have different their subfolders, and then so you would go in and scan each document separately.
Yes, because you want each artifact to be its own living document.
Because then can you click and drag them into different locations?
In New you can. Classic, not so much. Classic is very streamlined. You have your headings at the top, and then it's all right there. So you can kind of shift things around so that you have headers within each section, and it's built a little different. But in new is going to be very much build it how you want it to look. You can move your pictures around a lot easier than you could in Classic. There's just different modules to it now.
When will the students have access to the new version?
January 5th.
January 5th. Yeah. Are you working with career services at all?
I'm not, personally. Not yet. That is a goal. I actually, in my grad program, my research is focused around ePortfolio and student transition and student success. And my goal is to hopefully network with all of these different departments within UAA that are a part of that. And so that I can use ePortfolio to promote it and say, look, this is the benefits of it. And if we don't have a connection over at Career Services yet, we definitely need one.
And even, each of the departments, like the VOTEC departments or student leadership, life and leadership, the students that lead the tours, having, creating a format for them to use that shows how to, I guess, capture that experience.
And that's the benefits with ePortfolio is any of these departments that say, oh yeah, we'd love to have this in our department, we can build a template for them based on whatever they want that template to be consistent of. We will build it, and they just have to tell us what they want and what they anticipate the students using it for.
You'll have to excuse me. This is now. It seems like I'm wanting to jump in when you're even finishing your sentences, because I'm so curious about this. So you could create a template for the different departments. Mm-hmm. Who does that? Do you do that, or will someone from your?
I'm doing it for nursing. The coaches. That's what our coaches do. We task them with projects of building these templates for these departments, and then that way, when we have these professors like Jill Flanders Crosby, who works really close with one of our coaches, she's experienced with that, and can work with her better than I could possibly work with her, because I don't have that one-on-one with her. So that's what we're building. We're building these relationships while we're building these templates, and we want to see that connection continue after we make that template. It's not we're not going to build a template and be like, okay, you're go ahead, you got this. No, we're constantly going to be there for them to do this.
So then if students have a follow-up question, they can come to you.
Yep.
So how many coaches did you say you have?
We have 2 right now.
2, okay.
Yeah.
And they're located where?
We are all in the library in Library 215. People can pop in, and somebody's usually there to answer questions.
And can students access these from any computer, like their own laptop, or do they have to access them from certain computers?
No, you can log in from any computer. The only thing that we advise students on is that there's a little flash thing with the classic versions, and it's just, when you're in Chrome, always allow Flash, and then you won't have any problems with it. But other than that, that's the best part about Digication, is you can use it anywhere.
And how about that digital learning computer lab on the second floor? Do you know anything about that? Is there any additional support there?
I know that the student workers there have experience with eWolf, is my understanding. I should probably do a little bit more networking with them to kind of get an idea of what their experiences are, but they can do basic student support. And if anything comes in where students are losing information or something like that when they're publishing and the other students can't figure it out, then they'll just kind of send them over to us.
Okay, excellent. And for listeners, I'm talking about that. It's a computer lab on the second floor, but it's got really progressive, advanced digital learning tools, including like
virtual reality
goggles, 3D printer, which, by the way, right now is free for students to print. So if you want to try out a 3D printer, they have it. I think it's underutilized, so that's why I like putting a plug in.
I would imagine it's probably underutilized.
Yeah, because I don't see a lot of marketing for it at this point, and so I always like mentioning it when I can on this show. How about the Learning Commons? Are the academic coaches over there?
I know that we have had them over there in the past. I know that's something that we'd like to continue to keep happening. I'm not too sure about where that's at right now at this time. Again, kind of new to the position, still learning where all the niches are, but it's definitely somewhere we need to be.
Another location, and I've been there for a few afternoons, is the Multicultural Student Services.
We actually send our coaches go over there 2 days a week right now. They work with the multicultural students, and Paul Wasco is regularly over there connecting with the leadership over there too. They're very, very big on ePortfolio at the Multicultural Center.
Andre and Leo, and and their support staff is fabulous. So I've been there as a librarian too to help people.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
So, well, I really appreciate this. Remind us again where students can email for questions.
Our coaches are available at eWolfcoach@alaska.edu. Let me verify that because I don't remember if there's an S on the end of that. eWolfcoach@alaska.edu.
Are there certain coaches that are more seasoned in the professional side than the academic, or?
No, I think that our coaches are very across the board. Because of within our department, we're very focused on all of it. We want to see people tell their story, and that includes their career and their academic aspirations. And so we want to make sure that our coaches are experienced with both, so that if we do have one student that's like, I'm just doing this for their professional development, or one that's doing it strictly for their academic purposes, they're able to help them on both spectrums.
And you had mentioned that you created one that was focused on getting into graduate school?
It wasn't so much focused on getting into graduate school. I just kind of went into my application process for grad school knowing that there were certain things that they wanted students to demonstrate. Not knowing that I didn't anticipate that they were going to look at my ePortfolio, though. So it was one of those, I'm going to build this. It's going to have everything that is me. And I'm going to just structure it around if my grad committee wanted to look at it, and what would they look at, and just pieced it around that.
Would you recommend that for other students interested in applying for graduate school?
Absolutely. I think it's a very big tool to organize yourself. You get rid of that, oh no, what are my marketable knowledge bases that grad committees look at? You're able to go in, and once you're developing it into an ePortfolio, you're going, oh, that's right, I did this is really cool. And you want to think that if you think that's cool, somebody else is going to think that's cool too, especially on a committee.
And is it easy to edit?
It is very easy to edit.
Okay.
Everything, I mean, you kind of live in edit mode when you're creating an ePortfolio. And then you're just publishing everything. And then if you don't like it, you just go back into edit mode and just keep editing.
I know I'm a tech fellow. Well, of course I know I'm a tech fellow this year. But for the past couple of years, and one of the requirements is to develop an ePortfolio. So some of these questions are helpful for me as well because I've been kind of procrastinating that. Of course, I have to finish my project, which is an evaluating sources module, kind of an interactive module for students to take and to learn information literacy skills of how to evaluate sources, how to identify different academic versus professional trade magazine sources.
See, now the greatest thing about ePortfolio with our coming of new is you can build those modules into your ePortfolio.
Oh, that's
and then
great.
you can share your ePortfolio and have people work on the modules within it.
And then assess how they do?
There's no actual data assessment that will come into it, but it would really... You'd have to...
I know. I'm thinking, I'm going to be doing it in Google, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, I could put the link to it in ePortfolio. And that's what I'll have to do as my demonstration for it. But initially I was working with Devin on creating it in Storyline. Then I cannot get the results. And I would like to see, is this effective? Is this helpful? What are students able to accomplish what I'm hoping that they will be able to by learning this? Is it interactive? You know what I mean? Is it engaging?
Yeah, so ePortfolio won't show you that within it, but it'll be a place for you to house it.
Yes, exactly. So I will be in touch with the coaches regarding that.
I will let them know.
Yes. So we have just a couple minutes left. Is there anything else you'd like to share or, words of wisdom for students listening?
I think that ePortfolio is taking off within the university. And I know that there's more instructors that are saying either it's extra credit or it's a requirement in their course. And if there's an instructor that says this is extra credit, build an ePortfolio. Easiest, however many points you're going to get from that instructor, just to build a quick ePortfolio. And just remember that just like everything else within university, you are not alone in the ePortfolio. We are here to help.
Excellent. And again, remind listeners how they can ask for help.
They can contact our eWolf coaches at ewolfcoach@alaska.edu. Or they can call me as well. I'm a phone call away. My phone number is 786-0616. And we'd be happy to connect in any way. We'll come to you.
Excellent. Yeah, so if a faculty or another employee in the university is listening and would like to set up an appointment to meet with you,
yes, they can absolutely do that anytime. And the other thing to remember is with our eWolf program, we will come and teach this to the class. If you want to put it in your class, but you're not quite sure how it works, we'll teach them for you. Just give us some time to do that, and we'll come in and we'll talk to them and we'll teach them everything ePortfolio that we can.
I imagine that has, that's a good approach too. I think there's a Guidance 150 class too. I think that
we just did that for a Guidance 150 class.
Yes.
Actually, me and one of my coaches went in and we.
Is that Brittany?
That was Kelly.
Kelly, okay. Because I know another. I know someone from Academic Innovations was in for Professor Alan Jones' class this last semester.
Oh.
Teaching. I don't know if it was strictly about ePortfolios, but it was about technology and using.
Oh, okay.
Technology.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fabulous. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, I've been talking with Shamai Thacker. She's the portfolio strategist at the University of Alaska Anchorage about ePortfolios, and she's been inspiring, and I'm so impressed. And so I'm very thankful for your time and for all you do. So if you get a chance, get out there and explore Digication. It's
alaska.digication.com.
alaska.digication.com. And you've been listening to Informania. This is Deb the Librarian reminding you, if you can imagine it, you can become it. Have a great week, everyone.